Have you ever planted a pepper seedling, dreaming of a huge harvest, only to watch it sit there, looking sad and doing absolutely nothing for weeks? It is incredibly frustrating. Today, we are talking about the critical first 30 days of a pepper plant's life in your garden. The truth is, the secret to massive pepper yields does not happen in the late summer. It happens right now in the very beginning. In this video, I'm going to reveal the 3 absolute must-do tasks within the first month of transplanting. You will discover why your watering habits might be slowly killing your plants, exactly what kind of food they are begging for, and the early mistakes that ruin harvests. Prepare to have everything you thought you knew about young plants turned upside down. Stick around, because the last tip involves intentionally destroying part of your plant, and it is the ultimate secret of professional growers. Let us get into it. Before we dive into the 3 steps, we need to understand what your pepper plant is going through right now. Think about it from the plant's perspective. It spent its entire early life in a tiny, safe plastic cup. The temperature was perfect, the watering was consistent, and life was easy. Then, suddenly, you ripped it out of its home and shoved it into the harsh outdoor dirt. It is facing bright sun, cold nights, bugs, and wind. This traumatic event is called transplant shock. During this time, the plant is completely stressed out. It shuts down its upward growth completely. It feels like it is fighting for its life. Your only job right now is not to force it to make peppers. Your only job is to help it survive this shock and adapt to its new, giant environment as smoothly as possible. Have you ever planted a beautiful, healthy pepper seedling, only to watch it sit there doing absolutely nothing for weeks? It is incredibly frustrating. You check on it every morning, but it looks exactly the same. No new leaves, no height growth. Sometimes it even looks a little bit sadder than the day you bought it. But here is what is actually happening beneath the soil. The first 30 days after transplanting is the absolute most critical period in a pepper plant's entire life. This is the foundation phase. Right now, your plant is not focused on growing taller or making those delicious peppers you are dreaming about. Instead, it is desperately trying to establish a massive underground root network. If you mess up this exact stage, your plant will be weak for the entire summer. It will drop its flowers, it will be vulnerable to pests, and your harvest will be tiny. But if you follow the 3 specific steps we are about to discuss, you will turbocharge that root system. You will build a thick, sturdy base that can support a heavy canopy of leaves and a massive amount of fruit later on. Think of it like building the foundation of a skyscraper. You cannot see the progress from the street, but without it, the whole building collapses. So, let us dive into the very first thing you need to master. The first crucial task in this 30-day window is mastering your watering technique. This is where most beginners completely destroy their pepper plants. When you first put that small plant into the big open garden bed, your instinct is to give it a little splash of water every single day. After all, it is small, so it must need frequent small drinks, right? Wrong. That is the quickest way to create a weak, lazy plant. If you only water the top inch of the soil, the roots have absolutely no reason to grow deep. They will stay right near the surface, waiting for your daily sprinkle. Then, when the hot July sun hits, the surface dries up and your plant completely collapses. Instead, you need to practice deep, infrequent watering. You want to soak the soil thoroughly, letting the water push down 6 to 8 inches deep. Then, you walk away. You let the top layer of soil dry out completely over the next few days. This forces the pepper plant to push its roots deeper and deeper into the earth in search of that hidden moisture. A deep root system means a drought-resistant plant. It means a plant that can access minerals buried deep in your garden beds. So put down the watering can and grab a hose. Give them a massive drink, and then practice a little tough love by leaving them alone. Now, let us bust one of the biggest myths in vegetable gardening. It is the idea that yellow leaves always mean the plant is thirsty. This misunderstanding has killed more pepper plants than bugs or diseases ever could. Imagine walking out to your garden and seeing the bottom leaves of your new pepper turning a pale, sickly yellow. Your immediate reaction is probably panic. You think the poor thing is drying out, so you immediately dump a bucket of water on it. But 90% of the time during the first month, those yellow leaves are actually screaming that they are drowning. Pepper plants absolutely hate having wet feet. When the soil is constantly soggy, all the tiny air pockets in the dirt get filled with water. The roots literally suffocate because they cannot breathe oxygen. Yes, plant roots need oxygen. When they suffocate, they cannot absorb nutrients and the plant starts starving, which turns the leaves yellow. So before you ever water a yellowing plant, you must do the finger test. Stick your index finger deep into the dirt near the stem, right up to your second knuckle. If it feels cool or damp down there, do not add a single drop of water. Step back and let the sun do its job. Learning to read your soil instead of just looking at the leaves will completely change your gardening game. There is another terrifying thing your pepper plants will do during this first month that might make you panic. You will go out into the garden at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a sunny day, and your beautiful plants will be completely slumped over. The leaves will be drooping, and the stems might even look soft. It looks like a total disaster. But wait before you grab the hose. This is often just a defense mechanism known as afternoon wilt. When the sun is intensely hot, the pepper plant loses moisture through its leaves faster than its young, developing root system can pull it up from the soil. To protect itself from severe dehydration, the plant intentionally lowers its internal water pressure. It lets its leaves go limp to reduce the surface area exposed to the blazing sun. It is essentially playing dead to survive the hottest part of the day. If you panic and water it right then, you risk waterlogging a plant that does not actually need a drink. The true test is to wait until the sun goes down. Check the plant again at 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. If the leaves have popped right back up and look crisp and firm again, the soil moisture is perfectly fine. The plant was just taking a hot afternoon nap. If it is still drooping at night, then and only then should you give it a deep drink. Let us move on to the second major task for your first 30 days. It is all about giving them the right food at the right time. Fertilizer can be incredibly confusing. The shelves at the garden center are packed with boxes showing 3 mysterious numbers, and everyone claims to have the magic formula. But here is the brutal truth about feeding young peppers. If you give them a heavy dose of standard vegetable fertilizer on the day you plant them, you will likely burn their fragile new roots and stunt their growth for weeks. When you first transplant them, they do not need a massive buffet. They just need a gentle boost to help them recover from the shock of moving. For the first 2 weeks, you should not give them any strong chemical fertilizers at all. Let them settle in. Once they have been in the ground for about 14 to 20 days, you will start to see the first tiny signs of new green growth at the very top. That is your green light. That tells you the roots have taken hold and the plant is finally hungry. This is the exact moment to apply your early stage nutrients. But you cannot just use any random fertilizer you have lying around in the shed. The specific blend you choose right now will dictate whether you get a giant bush of green leaves or a plant loaded with actual spicy peppers. So what exactly should you feed them in this early stage? You need to understand the balance of nutrients, specifically nitrogen and phosphorus. Nitrogen is the nutrient that makes leaves grow big, green, and lush. Phosphorus is the nutrient that builds massive root systems and encourages the plant to create flowers and fruit. Most beginners grab a fertilizer that is extremely high in nitrogen because they want their plant to get tall very fast. And yes, a high nitrogen feed will make your pepper plant shoot up like a rocket. It will look beautiful and dark green. But there is a huge catch. A plant that gets too much nitrogen early on becomes lazy. It decides to put all its energy into making pretty leaves instead of building a strong root system or preparing to make fruit. You will end up with a gorgeous, giant bush that produces absolutely zero peppers. For this crucial first feeding, you actually want a fertilizer that is higher in phosphorus and lower in nitrogen. You are sending a chemical signal to the plant. You are telling it to focus its energy downward, into the dirt. You want to build the plumbing system first. Look for organic options like bone meal or a specialized tomato and pepper feed, where the middle number on the bag is higher than the first number. This is the secret to prioritizing peppers over useless foliage. Now that you have the right fertilizer, how you apply it is just as important as what it is. Never, ever dump a pile of fertilizer directly against the stem of a young pepper plant. The chemicals, even organic ones, are too concentrated. If they touch the main stem or sit directly on top of the shallowest roots, they will cause a chemical burn. The plant will dehydrate, turn brown, and possibly die overnight. Instead, you need to use a technique called side dressing. Imagine drawing a circle in the dirt around your pepper plant, about 6 inches away from the main stem. This imaginary circle is called the drip line. It is roughly where the furthest leaves end. Take your granular fertilizer and sprinkle it lightly along this circle. Then, use your fingers or a small hand rake to gently scratch it into the top half-inch of the soil. Once it is scratched in, water the area thoroughly. As the water dissolves the nutrients, it pushes them slowly down into the soil in a wide ring around the plant. This does something amazing. It forces the young roots to reach outward and stretch horizontally to find the food. You are actively training the root system to expand its footprint. A wider root system anchors the plant better against strong summer winds and gives it a massive area to pull water from during a drought. The third essential task you must complete within the first 30 days is setting up your support system. I know what you're thinking. The plant is only 10 inches tall. It stands up perfectly straight on its own. Why on earth would you need to stake it right now? This is a trap that almost every gardener falls into. We wait until the plant is 3 feet tall, loaded with heavy green peppers, and suddenly leaning over after a rainstorm. Then we panic. We run out to the garden with a massive wooden stake or a heavy metal cage and try to jam it into the ground next to the plant. But remember that wide, massive root system we just spent a month carefully building? When you drive a thick stake into the soil late in the season, you are slicing right through those critical roots. You are causing massive hidden damage that will shock the plant and cause it to drop its flowers. To avoid this disaster, you must install your stakes, cages, or trellis lines right now while the plant is still a baby. Put the stake into the ground just a few inches away from the stem during the first couple of weeks. The roots are still small enough that you will not hit them. As the plant grows over the next few months, its roots will naturally grow around the stake, incorporating it safely into its environment. It seems silly to stake a tiny plant, but it is ultimate protection for the future. Let me share a slightly controversial secret that happens right at the end of this 30-day window. Around week 3 or 4, your young pepper plant is going to do something exciting. Right at the very top, in the little split where the stem divides, it is going to produce its very first flower bud. It is thrilling to see. You start imagining the first pepper you are going to eat. But here is the hard truth. If you want a massive harvest, you must ruthlessly pinch that first flower off. I know it hurts. It feels completely wrong to destroy the exact thing you are trying to grow. But you have to think about the biology. If a small young plant produces a pepper, it will immediately redirect every ounce of its energy into growing that single piece of fruit. It will stop growing taller. It will stop growing roots. It decides its life goal is complete. By snapping off that first early flower, you are rejecting its early attempt at reproduction. You force the plant to stay in its vegetative growth phase. It will sigh, realize it has to try again, and put its energy back into growing a thicker stalk and more branches. Fast forward 2 months, and instead of a tiny plant with one sad pepper, you will have a massive, sturdy bush loaded with dozens and dozens of flowers. Short-term pain for a massive, long-term gain. The final piece of the puzzle to wrap up this crucial first month is locking in all your hard work with a thick layer of organic mulch. Bare dirt is your worst enemy in a vegetable garden. When the sun beats down on bare soil, it evaporates the moisture instantly, bakes the tender surface roots, and invites a million weed seeds to sprout. Weeds will steal the expensive nutrients you just carefully applied. To stop this, you need to surround your newly established pepper plants with 2 to 3 inches of clean straw, shredded leaves, or grass clippings. But be careful. Do not let the mulch touch the actual stem of the plant, as that can cause rot. Leave a tiny breathing ring right around the base. This mulch layer acts like a protective blanket. It keeps the soil temperature cool and stable during scorching days. It traps the moisture in the ground, meaning you have to water half as often. And as it slowly breaks down over the summer, it feeds a steady drip of natural, organic matter directly to your expanding root zone. It also prevents soil from splashing up onto the leaves when it rains, which is the #1 way soil-borne diseases infect your plants. A good layer of mulch applied in the first month is the closest thing you can get to putting your garden on autopilot for the rest of the season. And there you have it. The secret to a mountain of spicy peppers isn't magic. It is simply mastering these 3 crucial steps in the first 30 days. To recap, you need to practice deep, infrequent watering to build massive, drought-proof roots. You must wait to apply a phosphorus-heavy fertilizer using the side dressing method. And you absolutely must get your stakes in the ground early and ruthlessly pinch off those premature first flowers. The biggest turning point for any gardener is realizing that patience in the first month creates abundance in the third month. Do not rush the process. If you treat your young plants right, they will reward you with more peppers than you can possibly eat. Thank you so much for watching and spending time in the garden with me today. If you found these tips helpful, please hit that subscribe button and give the video a like so we can help other gardeners grow better food. Now, I have a question for you. Are you growing sweet bell peppers or hot chili peppers this year? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear what is in your garden.